All right, everybody, welcome back to the Raw Cave show. We have Dave McDermott on the recording here. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I just want to introduce you before we get into this. For those who don't know Dave, he's a masculine empowerment coach, and he's leading the Evolved Masculine Path here in Australia. We met a couple of months ago in Bondi at a cafe opening, and I really enjoyed your energy, mate. And you told me what you did. We connected on Facebook, and I saw that you run retreats, workshops, programs for men and masculinity. And for me, this has been something that's come up the last couple of years in relationships for myself, also with my closest dude mates and female friends. And it's such an interesting topic where I think there's so much confusion. So I'd really like to get a lot of clarity around, I've got so many questions, so we're going to get straight into it.
Sure.
Quickly just share a little bit about your story and how you got into this and a bit of your background. That'd be awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. So I'll keep it brief. It's a fairly solid story, but I'll try and give the 2-minute version.
Sure.
So yeah, I lead the Evolved Masculine Path, and we focus on masculinity, sexuality, relationships with women. And the reason I work in this field is because my deepest wounding is in those areas. I grew up with a bunch of sexual repression, kind of like a religious upbringing. It was like growing up in a bit of a cult, not like a heavy duty cult, but an esoteric organization where ideas around no sex before marriage, sexual desire is wrong, were pumped into my brain from a young age. And long story short, I didn't lose my virginity until I was almost 28. And I was really messed up around sex and women for a long time. So it took me quite a number of years to sort that out. I was really lost. I was miserable. And not like I had this vision of the life that I wanted to live, which was basically bring really amazing women into my life and be really confident in myself sexually, be a wonderful lover, and fundamentally be really content with who I am. But I kept falling into the exact opposite of that, being really low in confidence around myself as a sexual being, as a man, having massive fears around taking any action with women I desired. And when I did, it generally didn't go that well, or went really badly. Like I'd sort of be given the cold shoulder. So that led me to meet a man who really I'd sought a lot of support. Some of it helped a bit. But finally, I found something which helped me to really come into integrity, own the shame that I carried around that story. And my life changed overnight when I realized my story of sexual repression is not something to be ashamed of. It's something to own. And it's actually the greatest source of my power. And when I owned that, my life with women changed overnight because I became much more deeply relaxed with myself. And I had nothing to hide anymore. I no longer needed to put on a mask of confidence. I could just be confident that this is who I am and this is my story. I don't need to be anything else. I was already working as a transformational coach, and I was already a powerful coach. I was just messed up when it came to women and sex. And when that flipped around and I really found my feet in that space, I moved into working with men who struggle, as I did, around sex and women. And it's not just for guys who are single, it's for guys who are in relationships as well. It's all about relating authentically to women and deeply understanding what women want and how to give them that. And that's the same for dudes who are single as well as dudes in relationship, in my experience. So I now work as a masculine empowerment coach, and I absolutely love it. It's my passion. It lights me up. And I've had the privilege of seeing guys go through deep transformation and, as I did, see what they really wanted but didn't believe that could be possible for them in terms of basically bringing women into their life that they really wanted to be with actually start to happen. And that is very rewarding to me when I see that I've been a part of that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, man. I can relate in so many ways, and I think so many other dudes can, and probably females as well, that sex is such a taboo subject, you know, and it's not spoken about. We're not taught about it. So to the degree that I believe we need to. So, you know, for me, I didn't really see my first dad until I was 7. Then I had multiple stepdads. So I had a mum who brought me up, and she's amazing, very masculine and strong, but also very feminine and supportive. So I feel like I've got a balance, but more leaning towards the feminine type of man, I guess, today. How does someone who, I think let's just start with just like, what is masculinity? Like, and what is it? What was it 50 years ago, 100 years ago? And how is it different today?
Yep. It's a big question.
Yeah.
So like those words, masculinity, femininity, they're used a lot. And like anything, words can mean different things to different people. So how is it different in terms of my opinion on what masculinity is today and what it was 50 years ago, how it's changed? I think about my dad. I think about other male mentors who were from the previous generation. It was, for the majority of guys, in my view, it was hanging out with other guys, usually surfing, playing sport, drinking beer. If you were
going to war, stuff like that as well.
Well, yeah, sure. If you were good with women, like as in if you were really an object of desire for women, like women really were drawn to you, it was either because you were incredibly good looking or very wealthy or famous, or that you were a very feminine man. You know, you were that guy who was sitting with the girls at school and you were almost one of the girls rather than one of the guys, which is not, like, that's pretty rare. Otherwise, if you weren't any of those four things, you generally you generally found women a pretty tough, confusing area. And there's a lot of insecurity, fear of rejection. And most guys were in that boat. Porn, was there at the time, nowhere near as heavy duty as it is now with, video, internet pornography. But guys were still learning, getting their brains wired from a young age with magazines, learning to, having their brains patterned to focus on ejaculation as the end goal. And I know guys, who are in their 60s, they were patterned just the same as I know I was, by porn, other influences, to see women as sex objects and sex as an activity that feels good, but it caps off that the ultimate is to ejaculate. So that's the sex and women bit. A big one when I talk about masculinity is willingness or lack thereof to be vulnerable. So Australian dudes, I think it's an issue all around the world, but like being in Australia, this is definitely a big challenge for Australian guys, is being comfortable expressing their feelings. And that for a long time, masculinity has not been, like the view of masculinity has not included men being vulnerable, men sharing how they feel from their heart, having emotional connection, other than saying, I love you to their partner, but certainly not with other men, certainly not saying, I feel angry, I feel afraid, I feel shame, I feel fear with other men. With other men, you surf, you pump weights, you run, you laugh, you're always confident. Like there's no place for emotions because you're a man. That's what men fucking do. But my view of masculinity today is a man who is comfortable sharing his emotions and who actually realizes he's a much stronger man for doing that. And he does it with other men. He doesn't just do it with his partner or women in his life. But he's comfortable in a group of men to say, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling frustrated and I've been feeling angry for a week. Or I just feel so ashamed. I feel shame, going on in my life. And I mix in circles of men like men's work where guys, this is standard practice. And it can be in a room, in a circle of men, doing some dedicated men's work, or it can be in the pub with a group of friends. You can talk like this. I'm not talking theoretically. This is my life. Like, these are the kinds of circles and communities that I move and live in. So fundamentally, masculinity as it was to me is a view of man who doesn't share his emotions because he's seen not to have them, because it's not manly to have them. The view of man today, the healthy view of masculinity that I stand for, is a man who shares his emotions freely and is more powerful for doing that, and is also more attractive to women for doing that.
That's an interesting topic. I wanted to get onto that. So like today, with that kind of understanding that, okay, being a man is about being vulnerable and sharing your feelings. How does a man start sharing their feelings? Like I think it's a skill. Like for me, it's taken a couple of years to get like slightly comfortable with it. Yeah. So how does someone strengthen that? And then I guess attraction, like what are some other things that I guess between the sexes, men and women, what do they both find attractive and what brings healthy attraction?
So there's two questions there.
Yeah.
So one, like with sharing feelings, and like how you asked how to get good at that. I'm a big believer that there's nothing that's more powerful than getting stuff up into the light. So whether it's shame, fear, anger, joy, love, sadness, to speak it out, to get it up there so it can be seen. And if this is a new thing for you to say to a woman or to another man, I feel frustration. Look, babe, if it's after lunch on a Sunday, you're just hanging out and you're feeling, you're just feeling off. You're feeling a bit angry and you're not sure why. To say, look, babe, I just want to let you know, I'm just feeling a bit frustrated right now. I don't know why, but I just want to let you know that. I don't want to keep it inside. To me, that's very easy to do, but it's come with practice, a lot of practice. And it starts just by literally once begun. I studied Latin at school, and my Latin teacher used to say, once begun, half done. So you just got to do it the first time. It's like diving into the icy cold water. You just got to do it. But once you've done it the first time, the second time is easier. And that example I gave with a partner, it's the same with men. If you're with a group of mates and there's just an ongoing thing that, with one of the guys that you have something bubbling away there, speak it out. Like speak it out to him in the same way. Like, Michael, maybe it's a private conversation. Bro, I just got to let you know, when you respond in that way, when I talk about this, like, I feel humiliated. I feel shamed. And I don't want to keep that inside. I want to let you know that because you're my friend. And I think it's not healthy for me to bottle this stuff up. So for most guys, that'd be really tough to say that. But again, once begun, half done. So you just got to start and keep doing it. It's a life principle. It's a way of life. And once you start, you'll notice massive changes in how people respond. And I'll be really clear about this. If you're not getting a positive response, it's time to move on and find a different crowd. Because if you're hearing this and it resonates for you, and that's the direction I want to go in, and the people around you don't want to hear that, well, you got to find a different crowd.
Right. Truth can be scary to do. And then even just doing that and expressing that, if people aren't acknowledging it or hearing you, then that's it. That's even harder again. And then I guess join a group like one of your groups or connect with other people who you can express that with. I guess it's bad. It's not bad, but I guess it's not healthy to suppress this stuff. What happens if we suppress it too much? What can kind of happen?
If we suppress it?
Suppress these feelings is like...
Worst of all, suicide. That's the worst case scenario, which is a massive issue in Australia. There's like five times more men, I think, between the age of 15 and 40 are taking their lives than women. And Australia does have one of the highest suicide rates in the world per capita. So that's the worst case scenario. But more the majority is living with misery, living with suffering, living a life that's not, you're not a relaxed, content, happy human being. I believe in living happily and well. If you're pretending you don't have a heart, you're not going to be a happy, relaxed person. You might pretend to be, and you might be able to put on a very good show externally of being one, but actually you're not, because you're the only person who feels your experience. And unless you're different to any other human being I've met, if you're cutting off your emotional life, you're going to be deeply numb and or deeply miserable.
Mm-hmm. So we've just moved locations, internet troubles as usual, but I'm sure the recording's fine. Did you want to pick up on that?
So you asked about attraction as well.
Yeah. So I guess I find it's such a, going the usual thing. You kind of get out of high school, you start dating, and you go out to pubs and clubs, and you kind of get drunk, and then you meet someone, and then something happens. Like you take someone home, and then usually, a sexual relationship will start, and then like that's kind of like for me in how I came through out of high school was like that was a normal thing. That's how you meet girls, and that's how you kind of drink yourself silly, become numb, and then you can be yourself, and then you can finally find a woman. And I find now that I don't drink, very little do I drink, and then meeting people and sharing authentically, the connections are strong. It's obviously tricky, but it's like these amazing connections that I'm finding with people, and my new girlfriend is incredible. So it's like attraction, I guess it probably changes throughout time. Like what, I don't know, but like talk about attraction for men, like what men and women, how do they balance that out?
Yeah, I love this topic.
Okay, cool.
So I'm not a dating coach, but with the Evolved Masculine, we work in a very broad. We are a broad organization in that we help guys around purpose, we help guys around sexuality and literally being a better lover, and we help guys around understanding and gratifying women. And part of that is dating. However, I'm not a dating coach, so I'll just make that clear. And I'm not a pickup artist. I'm neither of those two things. But I have what I offer absolutely helps a guy be able to have a phenomenal dating life, and there's nothing else he'll need. I'm very confident about that. So let me dive into a bit of where I come from and like the way I work with that. So I'm coming from a background, as I mentioned, I was a virgin until I was 28, almost 28. I'm 35 now, so it's only been 7 years. I hit the online dating scene hard. I was pretty clueless when it came to attraction and seduction. And I was the guy who, I wasn't drinking myself senseless. I did my heavy drinking more in my 20s to numb the pain of sexual repression. But I know for a lot of guys coming out of high school, the way that you met girls was get drunk enough to walk over and say hi and try not to vomit on them, and hopefully get home and remember the experience. And she had no other options because all the other guys were too gutless to come up and say hi. So she said yes. So for me, I hit the online dating scene hard. I had a couple of short relationships that weren't really great. One was really not great. And a lot of casual sex. And for a while, I was the Tinder player. So I moved towards reaching out to not like the heavy-duty manipulative side of the pickup artist industry, but I kind of pick up, like just going up to girls and saying hi and learning how to open up a conversation, ask open questions, using eye contact to build attraction. And those principles are all valid. Like, so long as a guy's in integrity, that's beautiful. And that's like women want contact and presence in that way. But I was living a player lifestyle, and I was the Tinder player for a while. 4 women a weekend through my bedroom, and I would just want to kick them out the next morning. I wasn't letting women in, and I wasn't, apart from a couple of short relationships, um, I wasn't allowing myself to have emotional connection with women. I was keeping my heart closed. And it took a while for me to understand what was going on. And when I finally went deep into this stuff, I realized I was ashamed. I was carrying shame around my story of sexual repression. And I didn't want to open my heart, like, because there was stuff there that I didn't want people to see. And when I went, fuck that, I'm not going to hide that anymore, my life with women changed overnight, because from then on, I wanted emotional connection. And I moved into an exploratory phase, but with full transparency and integrity. And I no longer brought women into my life unless there was a really good connection there. Whether it was something that was meant to be a shorter experience or something more committed. From that point on, every connection I've had with women has been a really good heart connection, like a really good energetic connection. It's never just been, I want to fuck you and I'll take you home and I don't care what you like. So now when it comes to attraction, I stand for what I call the magic secret of dating, which is the right balance of safety and turn on. So what I find a lot of men struggle is they're either at one end of the spectrum or the other. They're either the nice guy, and I would say this is more the majority of men. They're the guys who really don't want to be seen as the dick. They really don't want to be seen as the guy who just goes up and like either pulls out a bunch of pickup artist stuff, or just women will respond. Women will sleep with a guy. She might have sex 2 or 3 times with a guy who's just super confident, even if he's a dick. So, but shortly after she'll go, yeah, I don't really want to hang around this dickhead anymore, and it won't last for long. But most guys don't want to be that guy. They really want women to see them as a genuine good person, and to do that, they go to the extreme of being nice. So the woman knows, okay, he is really not a dick. And of course, she likes that he's nice. Like, women do want guys to be nice. They do. But if he's just only super nice, to the point of being, having no, like taking no leadership whatsoever, or showing no strength, showing no killer instinct. Now that's a provocative thing to say, but women do like to know that a man can kill. How's that? And what I mean is not that he can go and kill another man or anything like that, but that if push comes to shove and she's in danger, he would take a life to protect her. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about she wants a psychopath.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah.
So, but most guys are on the super nice guy end of the spectrum, and they get put in the friend zone because she wants a guy to turn her on. And that's the other part. That's the other half of dating, is turn on. And turn on comes through presence, fundamentally. And what I mean by that is the ability to stand in front of a woman, look her in the eyes, and connect deeply with her without looking away, in silence, just showing her, I'm comfortable with myself, I'm strong in myself, and I'm not needy. And I actually don't care whether you give me your attention or not. I'm okay as I am. That's fucking arousing to a woman. So that's one, in terms of dating, having that quality of presence, as opposed to just like talking your head off, trying to impress her about how great you are, how expensive your car is, what a great job you have, how many friends, how many great holidays you've been on. Just shut the fuck up and listen. And find out about her. Find out about what she really loves. And share of yourself, but just show her that you're comfortable with who you are, and you don't need to talk yourself up to win her approval. So that's a really big one. The other side to this is with the presence. A woman also needs to feel safe. So that part is respecting her boundaries, discovering what her boundaries are, and respecting them. And it can look like this. If you're on a date, it's feeling good, the energy's good, and if you're feeling some sexual energy, you might touch her on the arm, you might stroke her on the leg, and she might pull away. And that just means it's not a rejection. And a lot of dudes will see that and then pull away and kind of shut down their sexual energy for the rest of the night. And she won't like that. Even though she did pull her leg away, she'll probably be wondering, oh, why is he closed down towards me? And again, that's a good chance she'll put him in the friend zone after that. But when something like that happens, it's usually not a rejection. It's just a no at that point in time. And 10 minutes later, it might be a yes. Seduction comes in waves. So this is just one specific example. I'm just using to illustrate a point. But you might touch her on the leg. She may pull back. Respect that. At that point in time, don't touch her on the leg again. Give her space. But keep exploring with her. Keep showing your presence. Keep opening her up. Finding out who she is and what's in her heart and what she loves, and sharing of yourself. Mm-hmm. And then express your desire, like whether it's through touch or let her know you find her attractive. If you really are attracted to her, do keep moving, like persist with full integrity, just being yourself. That will turn her on, but she will feel safe because she knows if she sends you a message of a no, that you respect that. Mm-hmm. And you're not crossing boundaries. So it's a dance.
It's a dance.
Anyway, I've been talking a long time, so
I have a question around. Okay, so so say the masculine and feminine, the energies are really important. If just because, say, how does a female? Because in today's world, I find that the female or women become the hunters. They have to provide, and they're very independent and self-sustaining. Oh, yeah. And how men have been doing that for quite some time, and now they sometimes feel like they don't have a place.
Yeah.
Is there a challenge with some women being so independent and so in that hunter mode that then the man, I feel like some of my friends, there's like, where's the place for a man? Because if there's no place for a dude, why the hell do we want to be there?
Yeah.
How does a female who's maybe slightly more of a hunter, like masculine, balance that out so there's more? And then how does the man communicate that as well?
Awesome question. Wow. Yeah. Okay. It's like a friend of mine said to me a little while ago, he finds he's going on dates with women now, and he asks her, if he can buy her a drink. And the fact is she can buy the whole bar if she wants. She's a successful career woman, maybe running her own business. Like women don't need guys to provide for them anymore financially. A lot of women are really well set up. A lot of them are earning more than guys. So it's a totally different game now. But there's an issue there, and that you touched on, which is women are often in their masculine, and they're living with masculine energy, particularly if they're running businesses, or in high stress, high level salaried jobs, whatever it is in the corporate world. They're
sport as well, or athletes, like if
sport, big time athletes. It's like if you closed your eyes and dubbed the audio on their speech, it would be just like you're listening to a man. As in, if you change the audio so that it sounded like a man talking, it would be no different. Mate. Oh, come on, mate. It's just the same. And I think it is an issue that a lot of women in this country, I think a lot of women in generally British colonized countries have become quite masculinized, and a really truly feminine woman is more of a rarity. There's a lot of women that look feminine, and this is my opinion, and I know people might disagree, so
Sure.
I'm expressing my opinion. There's a lot of women that look feminine, but inside they're really men.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, like, they're really not in touch with their deep feminine energy. And like I've had a number of experiences where I've met women who are very feminine, and I'm attracted to very feminine women, and we've moved into some form of relationship, whether it's a short-term thing or something else. I mean, it's never led beyond, with this kind of woman that I'm going to describe, it's never led beyond anything short-term, because my experience is meeting a woman like this and then discovering pretty quickly that although she looks really feminine, she's actually really masculine. And it turns me off completely.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about, I can't even be aroused. Even though she's super sexy, appears super feminine, and she's really nice. You know, she's a really nice person. But she's just, it's like being with a man in her energy.
Mm.
She's not actually in touch with her beautiful, feminine, sexy, flirtatious, radiant, feminine goddess energy.
Mm.
And I think for most men, and I agree with David Data on this, I think most men are attracted to a really feminine woman, because most men are pretty masculine men. Like, that's their essence. I know what I'm saying is provocative, but I don't care.
It's fine. This is a common. This is among a lot of my friends and coaching clients and community and stuff like that. It's a common thing, and
that's right.
So that's part of the thing. It's, I think women want to blame men for being men, and how we are today, but actually they are just as responsible as us. I think
totally.
We're reacting to them, and they don't realize sometimes.
I agree. And what I love is I meet really amazing women in the work that I do, and I love when I talk to a woman and a woman says, you know, I love men. I just love men, and I'm committed to helping men show up as the best men they can be. And there are women working in all sorts of forms of work out there who are helping guys evolve, who are helping guys stand in their power, who are honoring and celebrating that divine masculine, including the killer, including the fact that men do have this role, if needed, of protecting, and that can ultimately mean taking a life. It's not about actually doing it. It's just that a man has that. And that deep masculine essence, that presence, that power, that strength, that kind of, like, you know, just taking her energy sexually, just totally dominating her, taking her in the bedroom. It's all part of that. Like, most really feminine women love to surrender. Most really masculine men love to take her completely, to completely fuck her into oblivion. It's really beautiful. So there are a lot of women who are doing amazing work and who take a stand for men. And a number of these women, they've come to the point where they're like, that's not actually serving men. It's not serving the world, and it's not serving me. I stand for men. Men are fucking awesome. And I want to help men be the best men they can be. Yep.
Yeah. I'm just a little bit laggy here. Are you lagging? Or is it just me?
No, there was a little silence, but I could see you moving.
Okay, cool. No, we're good. So then how does a female start to get back into her feminine?
Wow.
I don't know. Like, are you qualified to answer that? Hopefully, that would be great. Are there any books? Are there any, for men?
Yeah, like it's a really good question, and it's not exactly one that I believe has a black and white answer to. I know there are people working in this area, and there are, I think, in this area, women working with other women is the most powerful way to go. Like, just as there are men's circles out there are women's circles out there. like Red Tent is a good example. Mankind Project is an example of a very widespread men's work movement. Red Tent is kind of the sister organization for women to come together and challenge each other to grow and evolve as women and bring out their femininity. I know there's a whole bunch of cool work going on, dancing eros, the world of sacred sexuality. Like if there are women hearing this who are going, shit, I may be that kind of woman who looks pretty feminine, but fundamentally, I'm really in my masculine and I want to cultivate my feminine energy. I'd be diving into the world of exploring your sexuality and moving into the conscious sexuality communities, attending workshops where you're going into your sexual archetypes, your feminine archetypes, the goddess, the slut, the priestess, the maiden. There are all these powerful archetypes for women to work with. And in my view, it's the place of women to work with women. As a man, I would not feel it was my role to be helping women become more feminine. But like in relationship, I think a man can play a role in helping his partner step more and more into her femininity by encouraging her to surrender. I agree again with David Data. The essence of the feminine is surrender. And not all women, and I want to be really clear, I'm not saying all women are feminine and all women have to do this. So my opinion is that most women are at their essence feminine. Some women are at their essence masculine, and some women are at their essence kind of neutral. But most women, in my opinion, are more feminine in their essence and do really want to surrender. And they can still work an executive job. They can still run a really awesome business in the world. But you can lay that aside when you come home and just surrender to a really good man and let him fuck you into oblivion. And I'm not just talking about in the bedroom. I'm talking about in every way. Just let him hold space for you. Let that dark stuff out and let him hold space for it. Scream, cry. Let it out. Let your wild feminine expression out. Don't bottle it up. If you're single, use emotional release tools like fill a bath, put your head under the bath and scream. And no one will hear you. That's why I'm recommending doing it in the bath. Into a pillow. Yeah. Just like let out your feminine expression. Like it's welcome. And if you don't, then it's gonna, that's just as I mentioned before with men not expressing emotions. If you're a woman not letting your wild feminine expression out, it's also going to mean you're numbing yourself. You're cutting off a part of you that's who you are. Yeah. And it's going to mean a miserable, limited life.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to share, something about, I've been, with my background in health and nutrition, I've been researching a lot about sleep lately. Okay. And particularly women who are watching this, do a lot of research on potentially sleep deprivation or adrenal fatigue, because, that go masculine hunter energy eventually can cause burnout. And it's really important for women with their hormones specifically that they get a good amount of rest and nourishment and self-care, have a morning routine, evening routine. So what I coach a lot of people on to really nourish their own, fill their cup up. As a coach, you and I, we don't have a cup half full or half empty. It's empty. We have a cup that's overflowing with self presence, and we're walking our talk. So it's like we have to do that in a relationship. I believe we're both 100% responsible. It's not like I'm 50% responsible, you're 50% responsible. It's like I'm going to give this much, you have to give that much. It's like I'm going to give 100% of me if we're committed to this. I would appreciate you give 100%, and we're both responsible for the outcome. It's you don't want to blame anyone. You don't want to give too much. It's like you want to give 100%. I think that works really well. Yeah. And so sleep is really important, and also learning, I don't know, it would be good to get onto some books for masculinity, but for me, what's really helped me the last couple of days and couple of weeks is Alison Armstrong. So there's her, for dudes out there and women, these two books are incredible. They talk about how men and women just are not communicating properly and don't
Yeah.
understand each other. So that there's some great books. What are some other books that you recommend for people out there who are really wanting to learn more about this? Because I think you have to take this into your own hands. You can't just expect to figure this out. You know, you have to actually get some coaching, go to a retreat, get into these men's groups or women's groups, and do some self-learning.
I don't have any books that I can throw up on the screen, but I'll just mention them. So Steve Biddulph is a pretty well-known guy working in the men's workspace. I think he's probably the most well-recognized Australian working with men, for his work with men. He wrote a book called Raising Boys, and I think which I read when I was working with teenage boys as a high school teacher in a previous life many years ago. And I found that really powerful. And I know he's written The New Manhood, which I haven't actually read, but his new book is The New Manhood, which if it's anything like Raising Boys, it'd be really awesome too. There's a book called I and John, a book about men by Robert Bly. So Robert Bly was really the inspiration behind like the men's work movement in the world today, particularly the Mankind Project. And he's a poet, and he uses poetry and myth to bring a different view of of masculinity to what traditionally is the case, including like men as warriors, going back to tribal times, and playing with those masculine archetypes of the king, the warrior, the lover, the magician. Another one would be definitely David Data, The Way of the Superior Man. Okay. That, if anything else, if you're only going to read one book from this recommendation.
For men and women, or just men? Or
that one's for men. I mean, it'd be really interesting for women to read it, to learn more about men, but like, it's a book for men.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That'd be three that I'd recommend.
Thanks, man. That's awesome. I guess out of all this stuff that you've learned over the years, working with people and, going through this yourself, what has been your biggest learning around masculinity in your own life? What has been like the biggest aha moment for you?
I just have to reflect on that. It's a big question.
Sure. Yeah.
Being comfortable, not just being comfortable, but loving and enjoying expressing my emotions. Being comfortable expressing the parts of my life that hurt the most.
Wow. Why?
For me, it was...
Yeah.
For me, it was severe bullying at high school and sexual repression. When I stopped hiding and being ashamed of that part of my story and trying to move on and pretend it didn't happen, but actually went, no, that fucking happened. It is part of my story, and I'm not ashamed to tell it. I'm not ashamed to be the guy that has that in his story and share it from a place of confidence, as opposed to breaking down and going, oh, I'm just hopeless. I was bullied. I was sexually repressed. Help me. But standing in my power and going, I'm a fucking powerful, wonderful, strong man. I went through sexual repression. I was severely bullied at school. I've had to work through a lot, but it really is the source of my power today. And I know what it's like to be in pain. And I know what it's like to feel messed up around sex and women. I know what it's like to feel alone because I was bullied badly and I isolated myself so I wouldn't be hurt. And that carried through in my psychological life for some time. And I've had to work through a lot, and I've sought support. And it really has been a big part of who I am today. And I own that. I'm fucking proud of who I am today. So my biggest lesson is being able to share who I am, like really share, including the painful bits, from a place of strength.
Beautiful.
Which is what's at the source of when I say in my work, vulnerability is sexy. and guys look at me and say, "What the fuck are you talking about?" That's weak. I don't mean sharing stuff that's tough and breaking down about it and saying, "Please help me. I don't know what to do." It's owning parts of your story that were tough and sharing it from a place of confidence. That's being vulnerable, but still being strong. That's being vulnerable in a way that you're standing in your power. You're saying, "I own who I am," and that is incredibly powerful. That is true strength, to share in that way. So that's been, I'd say, my greatest lesson.
How does someone do that? Because I know that's amazing. But how does someone do that in terms of sharing that? And then obviously we spoke about practice and just getting good with sharing with mates and things like that. But do you particularly breathe? Are there certain habits every day that you do to kind of fill your masculinity up or to balance the energy? Are there habits or routines or something that you could share to help other people push through that sharing of those emotions?
So I don't think there's a one size fits all approach. And I don't have a routine that I do before I share vulnerably. I mean, last week I stood up in front of 60 people and at a kind of business networking event and talked about my business. And as part of that, I shared that I grew up with sexual repression. And I felt no discomfort doing that. I actually loved it. So I'm at the point where it's just a joy to share that part of my story because I see how it impacts people. It has powerful impact. And a number of men and women approached me afterwards and told me they were really moved and impacted by what I'd shared, and led to a couple of men being interested in working with me and a couple of women, one woman sharing with me her personal story. She'd been inspired to get something off her chest that she hadn't told anyone for decades. Another woman was interested in putting me in touch with someone around government funding that may be perfectly suited to the Evolved Masculine Path, the business that I run. So that, I just shared something. It was a delight to share and had a powerful impact on a number of people. It's kind of, so like when I began this, you could say I just literally that once begun, half done principle, like diving into cold water. You just got to go, fuck this, do it. Like you can breathe, you can meditate, you can go out and go for a surf. Yeah, all that's it's not going to hurt. But fundamentally, particularly when you decide I want to live vulnerably, I want to be the guy who shares what's in his heart. When you take that step and start doing this, if it's not something that's the part of the way you are already, it's probably going to be pretty challenging at first. And what's worked for me is I just really saw life is short, and how do you want to really be seen at the end of your life? And fundamentally, how do you want to feel about yourself? And I just got really clear. I don't want to be a guy who's hidden anything. I want to live a life that I know I've just been fully transparent with myself and therefore with others. So I say, fuck this. I'm just gonna share what's in my heart. That's what's worked for me. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's not easy. I'm not going to pretend it's easy.
Sure.
Like you've got the butterflies going on, you've got the nerves, you've got the what the fuck will they think of me? Fuck it, say it anyway, and walk away and know I've been totally honest and authentic, and I didn't hide anything.
Like for me personally, I know as I've started to feel more, I feel in my heart, like I literally feel like a lot of emotion through there, and I'm learning. I used to think that was a bad thing, but that's now just a sign that I need to share what's on my heart. And it's like, okay, something's feeling funky right now. Maybe you might get it in your throat or your head or wherever you might get it, or your tummy. It's just practice and sharing that and going, screw it, just do it, fuck it. Even with those butterflies, acting in spite of fear, I think is one of the most admirable qualities,
That's it. You nailed it. Acting in spite of fear. Feel the fear, but do it anyway. Exactly.
Yeah. I've got a couple more questions if that's cool. I know we're short on time. And this is a fantastic interview. I know everyone's going to really enjoy this. And after the interview, if they want to connect with you, how can they connect with you? I know you run retreats, programs, online webinars, events around sexual mastery and accountability and one-on-one coaching. Just want to share with everyone, how can they find you? And then we'll get into the last couple of questions.
Yeah. So I run a group program. The retreats that I run are not available to be attended as a standalone. It's do the whole package or not at all. That's what we've found has been most powerful in our experience. So I can be contacted at dave@evolvedmasculine.com. Our website's www.evolvedmasculine.com. Our group program is a really powerful experience, and it involves a retreat that's focused on deep masculine empowerment and understanding and gratifying women. There's international coaches that fly out from the US to help me co-lead the retreat. It involves regular webinars with a group of men who are committed to this path, the Evolved Masculine path. There's a 12-week online sexual self-mastery training to help you move through what's holding you back from being an amazing lover. Whether you're feeling like your sexual experience is pretty awesome or not great, or you're really struggling with premature ejaculation, wherever you're at, that 12-week course can help you take it to the next level. Ultimately, to having full ejaculatory choice over when and if you want to ejaculate, and the ultimate goal of being multi-orgasmic, experiencing multiple full-body non-ejaculatory energetic orgasms. That's a mouthful.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, and there's membership of our exclusive Facebook group. You get buddied up with an accountability buddy, and we've just released a 3-month video series, which is a new part of our offering, where every weekday for 3 months, you receive a 5 to 10 minute video with daily content and a practice for each day, moving through the areas of deep masculine empowerment, sexual self-mastery, and understanding and gratifying women. So if you're interested in that package, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
Going through that experience.
And I'll link all your details below in Facebook and on
Awesome.
YouTube and stuff.
Thanks.
That's exciting. I look forward to attending. So
cool.
I would like to know a couple more things. So if there was one thing that men could do differently, that if they implemented it would shift the future of the world for the better. It's like a bit of a mouthful. But I feel like, I think there's a point in life, like for example, with health, where people start a health transformation, or myself, I start a new thing and I feel really good about myself. And I'm like, yeah, cool. I know this stuff. And then naturally I want to share that with other people. Once I've filled my cup up, I want to then share it with other people. I think most people are stuck in that kind of like, their own issues and their own first world of problems, Oh my God, should I go to Pilates or yoga, or should I go get takeout or Deliveroo? Like, it's just we get so caught up in our own problems. So looking big picture, and for the world, and for, the next generation, I guess you could say, or for the younger generation, let's just look at the future generation. What would be for men today, if they could implement one new thing into their toolkit, or own a new quality of themselves? What would be the one thing that would really shift the world? Well,
going deep into your sexuality. So this is a very taboo subject. Like sex is taboo. It's most people were taught it's something to be done in private, whether it's masturbation or sex, and kind of don't tell anyone about it. We all know it's good, we all know it's fun, but just don't talk about it. I've personally gone on a journey of being very exploratory with my sexuality. And I don't mean as in bisexual or heterosexual, I mean just my sexual experience. And for me, that's involved moving in the what's called the conscious sexuality circles, applying tantric and Taoist principles to looking at what's possible sexually. And it's led to me understanding I carried a lot of sexual shame. a lot of what I was told from parents around kind of just subtle messaging that masturbation is wrong, sexual desire is wrong. I mean, I copped a barrel load in the organization I grew up in. You know, my story is quite unique, but the fundamental principle of our sexuality is often shamed when we're young applies to the majority of people in my experience, men and women. And I believe a big change and a really positive thing for the world would be for men and women to really take a good look at what is my sexual experience and what's possible and what's the current reality and what's needed to help me evolve as a sexual being. Mm-hmm. If you're a man, I used to think this was all just bullshit, but I now have experience and I can confidently say there is such a thing as multiple full body non-ejaculatory energetic orgasms, which are actually better and more amazing than ejaculating, which if done consciously feels really good too. There's nothing wrong with that. And for a woman also, you know, the standard clitoral orgasm, there are many kinds of orgasm that a woman can experience: vaginal, anal, heartgasms, breastgasms, you know. And I know just me saying that stuff to a lot of audiences, they'd be like, fuck, what's he talking about?
Right.
And gee, that's not appropriate. Well, yeah, it should be. It's not wrong. It's wonderful. So that's what I would recommend. Like, that would just be fucking huge for the world.
Yeah, wow.
If people went down that road and they opened their sexuality up for being explored a lot more than is currently the case.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. That's really exciting. I think, you know, it's like in anything, if we keep doing what we've always done, we're going to keep getting what we've always got.
Yeah.
And, you know, the sign of a true master is that they're always leaving their cup, or they're pouring their cup out at the door. They're coming in and learning and always filling up their cup of knowledge and joy. Geez, we use the cup metaphor a few times. So it's a good one. It's a great one. So it's like, be open to this stuff. Yes, it sounds taboo, like riding a bike the first time. You're going to fall off. You're going to stack. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You're not going to want to do it again. Or like, you just got to keep getting back on that bike. You know, keep doing it. So, I feel that we covered so much stuff there. It was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing all that stuff. I know everybody out there, I've tried to take notes. I've got so many questions here that we've gone through all of them. Awesome. And, you know, if anyone out there has any other questions, please hit Dave up, connect with him on social media, maybe connect with me as well. If you want, we can organize another interview. And I look forward to, hearing all the comments. If everyone who's watching has any questions, obviously link them up. But I just said that. Oh my gosh, I totally don't know how to end these interviews sometimes. Oh my gosh.
You're doing well.
But is there any final comments, any final words that you want to share around your work or this type of work? Any final thoughts?
I mean, the biggest thing in my life that led to stepping into really living in integrity was finding out what was it that I was hiding from. What was it that I couldn't see? And I decided to not give up until I found out what was really holding me back from living the life I wanted. So I'd say two things. One, don't settle for anything less than being clear about what you want. And two, when you are clear about what you want, don't settle for anything less than living it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's exciting. That's exciting. All right. Well, thanks for your time. And I look forward to connecting soon. Everyone like, subscribe, comment, and share this around. As you know, what we've discussed, I'm sure can help some of your friends and family. So please share this around. Everybody, thanks for watching, and tune into the other YouTube, tune into Raw Cave. There's a whole bunch of recipes, video logs, other interviews that I think you'll find interesting as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks, Dave. I'll talk to you soon.